I'd have to say that there's nothing more that I love reading in the news is news that proves that I was right. So, the story is impoverished crypto bros desperately trying to sell luxury cars. You remember when the crypto bros were out there with their luxury cars? Yeah, I just got me a new Lamborghini. Yeah, I got this Bugatti with some Bitcoin. Yeah, I got my Lamborghini with Bitcoin. Remember that? You remember that? How long ago was that? What, about maybe within the last, last 3 or 4 years? What was that? Maybe about 2018? 2019, 2020. Yeah, all these crypto bros, right? Oh yeah, I got my Maybach with Dogecoin, right? I got my Maybach. I'm a Dogecoin millionaire. Yeah. Uh-huh. Right. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah. Oh man, I got to put my money in crypto." And I got to get my money in crypto. Yeah. I had you have anybody at your job who knows nothing about like certain things, and yet when they suddenly express interest and they start talk like they say something, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go into Bitcoin," and then it just makes you stop everything you're doing. It's like, wait a minute, you don't know the first fucking thing about cryptocurrency. You're going to lose all your money. And the thing about it is, like, I know people who constantly bouncing from scam to scam. You may have heard it in another video that I know people who get locked into these fucking pyramid schemes and these MLM schemes, and they ask my advice and asking for my help with their, and I'm like, there's nothing for me to help you to do, because the thing about it is, like, you're trying to use this computer program that these people suckered your ass into, and they got their money out of you. They charged your ass $100 or $200 up front. You were stupid enough to pay it, and now they've been promising you that this new technology that they're selling on their MLM is going to the moon. They've been promising you at your what is it? I was making fun of one of these things before. They were promising you that your what is it called? World Venture Tours, that you're gonna get rich being a fucking travel agent. You don't know the first fucking thing about being a travel agent. You're gonna be a travel agent. You got World Venture Tours. You're selling prepaid legal. Oh yeah, don't worry. Yeah. If you come in, you pay $200. We're gonna sit you through a training course, and you got prepaid legal. So this way, if the cops lock somebody up, it's like they can have immediate representation. I'm like, what? The system doesn't work like that. It's like you get a public defender, or you have your own lawyer or your own attorney. It's like, this prepaid legal's bullshit. And then there's Primerica. To tell you the God's honest truth, I actually went and sat through a Primerica, and I usually, every now and then, I get invited to these things. Now, I always go with the intent that I'm not buying anything, I'm not signing up for anything. But I actually went to one of those Primerica, whatever you want to call it, a presentation where they sit you down and they're fucking reading through a PowerPoint, trying to make everybody sound excited. And I knew it was bullshit before I went, because it was like, they were like, "Oh yeah, you're invited to this job interview." And I was like, "A job interview? Okay, sounds great." And they were like, "Yeah, you can bring a friend with you." I was like, "What are you talking about? I could bring a friend with me? You don't bring friends to job interviews." But they didn't know what they were dealing with. So it was like, as soon as I heard that shit, I was like, "Oh shit, here we go. It's a pyramid scheme. It's a freaking pyramid scheme." So I guess after you live long enough, it allows you to recognize like something that's absolute bullshit. Like with Bitcoin and all these cryptocurrencies, in the very beginning, most people don't know what to think about these things. But when you have MSNBC and CNBC and Fox News constantly advertising and constantly trying to show you success stories and showing you the Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world. Oh yeah, this young guy, he became a billionaire. He's one of the richest men in the world off this crypto. He went to the moon. And now look, I recognized it back in 2018. And I think what did it for me was when I saw that the government was getting involved in it. Because when I heard the government quietly talking about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this shit could be used for money laundering." As soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, the government ain't gonna let this shit sit around too long. And then came COVID, and you had all these idiots sitting at home gambling on this shit, bragging to each other. Yeah, I got me some Ethereum. I got whole Ethereum. Yeah. Oh, I got this Ethereum. Yeah, I got me some Cardano. I got the Cardano. Yeah, I got Cardano. We going to the moon. It's like Tron, Ripple, Dogecoin, Safe Light, or not Safe Light. What was it called? Safe Moon, Safe Mars, and then it was like every day a new one was coming out, and a new one they were getting. And then I realized, I was like, wait a minute, this is some fucking massive Ponzi scheme that's going on here. So, not to make too far a point of it, because I can ramble about this shit forever. But anyway, these impoverished crypto bros, these dudes were down there in Miami, popping bottles, throwing their Maybach doors open, the Lamborghini doors up in the air, looking like the gull wings on the fucking McLarens. Everybody was popping them bottles. Yes, they were. They were popping them bottles. They were driving to the moon. Now look what's happening. Says, we're not going to shed tears for these erstwhile internet money millionaires. You goddamn right, I ain't shed no tears for them. I hope you lost everything. So anyway, crash and burn with cryptocurrency values continuing to plummet amid the crash of FTX and BlockFi. It looks like the industry's acolytes are trying to make some fiat cash on the expensive cars they bought in the bull market. So now these morons are going to figure out the first thing about supply and demand. They were able to benefit from a Ponzi scheme. They got into it early. For the most part, some of them benefited. The rest of them got the rug pulled from under them. And what they did, the first thing they did, they took that money and they flashed it by buying some expensive shit. Now the problem that they're having is, what are they going to do with the stuff? Because here's the thing. If you bought one of those cars 4 or 5 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, at the beginning of crypto, because really Bitcoin, what was that, like 2012 and onwards? It's like if you got rich during that time and you spent your money, chances are you spent your money on cars and houses. Now, some of these people probably spent that money on luxury vacations, and they probably spent that money on jewelry and other stupid shit like Balenciaga stuff and Gucci, Prada, Femi, all that nonsense, right? So they were probably burning through money. And, I can almost understand that, because I've seen what happens when you have people who don't know shit about money. When they suddenly get a lot of money in their hands, they spend like drunken sailors. The Lamborghinis. And it's funny because the Lamborghini Aventador it's got horrible reliability. I remember the first generation of those things, they had bad clutches, and they had a serious problem with their clutches. So then they came back, Lamborghini made the dual clutch model, and there were a lot of people buying those things. They had trouble just getting them things started sometimes. Like, it was not uncommon for those things to break down within 2,000 or 3,000 miles. It wasn't uncommon. The Aventador had horrible reliability. Then there was that Huracan. And that Huracan got the V10 engine, and it's got Audi technology, Audi wiring harnesses. So you had just as much problems with that as you have with your typical Audi, which is to say a lot. A lot of people, there's people I know who've had like Q8s and stuff like that, and they're like, nah, I'll never do that shit again. No more Audi for me. But long story short, now all of this shit is depreciated. Now, what's funny is, because of the Federal Reserve, used cars actually went high in price. But the used cars that were sought after were not these high-end luxury cars. What was sought after was the low-end consumer market cars, which were easily being marked up higher and higher. A lot of these luxury cars, these luxury toys, those are not highly sought after. And the reason why is because anybody who actually has that kind of money, they can have one spec'd to their own personal taste, and they could buy it and they could just get it, and then they'll have their personal car. It'll be perfectly designed for them. So they're not trying to buy used cars. They're not trying to drive around in somebody else's dream car. That's not what they want. So, what does it say? It says, as the New York Post reports, folks in the exotic car resale industry are seeing correlations between the great crypto crash and lowering of used luxury car prices. Ain't nobody buying that shit. We're in a recession, guys. Let's say, in messages with the New York Post, a Twitter user known only by his car dealership guy handle, who works in the luxury car resale market, said he doesn't think those factors are unrelated. Well, of course they're not. It's clear that in the last couple of months, the decline in price for exotic vehicles has accelerated. That correlates very, very well with the meltdown in the crypto markets. Car dealership guy has told New York Post, where we know that some of the biggest customers of exotic vehicles were crypto millionaires. This same apparent trend was also explored by The Verge last week, and although it took a decidedly more cautious look at the phenomenon, it also found it likely that the crypto crash is responsible for an uptick in luxury cars hitting the market right now, though experts warn that there could be other economic factors at play. And granted, other economic factors at play, for one thing, is the higher fuel prices. See, a lot of these luxury cars were purchased during the low gas prices of COVID. A lot of these cars were purchased when interest rates were very low, gas prices were very low. Now what you're looking at is high interest rates for loans, and you're looking at high gas prices. You're still paying over $4 a gallon for premium unleaded. The trend is rather interesting as our appraisals went up a few weeks before the major announcements of trouble within the crypto market. Ivan Drury, the director of insights for the Edmunds auto sales firm, told The Verge, "I'd hate to draw too many conclusions or postulate on possible conspiracy theories that insiders knew and wanted to unload assets before the announcements. About why, but I think the data does make you wonder." It also reminds me of when I made that video in that Mercedes-Benz of that guy who just bought a G-Wagon and he paid $100,000 over sticker for fucking G-Wagon. So the G-Wagon was $208,000. Add $100,000 to that, he paid $308,000 for a G-Wagon. Now, the first thing that came to my mind when I see somebody's paying $100,000 over sticker for a freaking Mercedes G-Wagon, first thing that comes to my mind is this guy must be a drug dealer or he's laundering money. Because nobody who works hard for money or works smart for money, nobody who actually earns money the true possible way of working for money and earning it, nobody is paying $100,000 over sticker unless you'd have to really just not care. Listen, if you're Elon Musk and you've got like hundreds of billions of dollars or something like that, that's one thing. Now, if you're like Warren Buffett or something, you got billions of dollars, you got like $50 billion, yeah, that's one thing. But they ain't nobody in their right mind paying $100,000 over sticker for anything. That's just retarded. But anyway, correlation causation. While Drury said he and his colleagues are not 100% convinced that the decrease in used luxury car prices and the crypto crash correspond with one another, their proximity nevertheless did raise some eyebrows. All the same, car dealership guy claimed in his messages with the New York Post that his DMs have been chock full of crypto bros trying to offload their expensive cars. And in messages with the Verb, corroborated the observation. If we learn one thing, everything is correlated when you have a large evisceration of wealth. The Twitter user told the tabloid. It impacts the entire economy. Yeah, guys. Well, yeah, you did this to yourself. Y'all went out there, y'all flexing that money that y'all stole or that you benefited from somebody else losing. And they were stupid enough to put their money into this shit. You walked off with their money by hitting the sell button. And now you're realizing why you don't take that amount. When you have that much money, you take that amount of money and you put it into a depreciating asset like a luxury car. Well, this is what you get. And it's also funny. A lot of these dudes, these crypto bros, see, some people really don't understand money that much. See, the issue ultimately is a lot of these crypto bros, which we're going to get into, a lot of these crypto bros, it's easy to buy a car. It's easy to say, yeah, I'm going to cash out some crypto, I'm going to buy a car, right? It's not that easy to buy a house, though. Now, there's a simple reason for that. First of all, if you try to come to the bank with crypto, if the bank shows any interest whatsoever, they're going to tell you, no, you need to exchange this shit for US dollars, because in this freaking country, we buy shit with US dollars. There's a couple of companies, there's a couple of corporations, there's a couple of stores that do take crypto. But for the most part, if you're trying to buy a house, you're going to have to buy that house, in cash or with some loan, US dollars, this, that, and other. Now, most of these crypto bros, they thought that they were going to the moon. They thought that their crypto was going to be worth so much more now. So what ended up happening is, if they did buy anything, they usually were taking out loans to buy this stuff. They weren't buying this shit in cash. See, some of y'all see somebody driving a Lamborghini and you think, oh yeah, well, he's big in Bitcoin. He must have bought that car cash and paid the whole thing off. No car note. Most of these dudes didn't do that shit. Most of these dudes wouldn't spend that amount of money on something simply because they really thought that these things were going to keep appreciating. And after all, if you're so certain that the money that you have is going to go from, let's say, $50,000 to $1 million, why would you spend it? The answer is you wouldn't. So what these dudes were doing was they would get loans on this shit. And they felt that their crypto gains, all this, oh yeah, I'm staking my Ethereum. I'm staking Ethereum. Yeah, I'm going to the moon. I'm staking my Ethereum. I'm staking it. It's like dividends, but you're staking this money. You're staking it, the stakes and the FTX, and you're staking it. Uh-huh. So what ended up happening was these morons took out loans for cars, for luxury shit. And basically, now you see what's happening. They say, you know what? My Bitcoin went down from $50,000 down to, what is it, 16, 17, whatever it is right now. I don't even know. So they've lost more than 65% of their value. So because they probably didn't buy houses aren't very easy to buy. If you have cash US dollars for a house, yeah, you can absolutely buy a house in cash. Here's the problem, though. While that crypto collapse was happening, housing prices were steadily rising, for one. Then, after the housing prices rose, the interest rates were already being pushed up. So here you got three problems. Number one, you're sitting on crypto that's depreciating fast. Interest rates are rising. And simultaneously, the house prices are rising, which shouldn't normally happen, except for the way that it happened was the Federal Reserve raised these interest rates after having lowered the interest rates so much that they created a massive amount of demand. That massive amount of demand went out there and bought up all the houses. And they made it so that the only houses left over are the ones you probably don't want to live in. So that's the reality. That's what happened. So these dudes right now, all those Bitcoin Teslas and those Bitcoin Lamborghinis and this, that, and the other, all that's done. It's done. I never actually saw anybody buy a Bugatti with Bitcoin. See, a Lamborghini is like $300,000 or $400,000, right? Never saw anybody buy any Bugattis with no Bitcoin or anything like that. I never saw that. Maybe somebody out there exists, but I just never saw it. You heard about people buying Teslas. You heard about people buying Lambos and stuff. A lot of these Lambo Uruses were sold off these lots to these dudes who claiming that they're multimillionaires because they put a couple of cents into Tron or freaking fucking RTX. What is it? What was it called? Ripple. All that shit is coming to a fast end, and good riddance, I say. In related news, Sam Bankman-Fried apologized to an FTX customer who said he lost his life savings of $2 million and accused the former CEO of stealing it. This is one of the things that I never imagined the government would allow these crypto bullshit schemes and Ponzi schemes. I never imagined that the government would let this shit sit this long. See, the problem is with these schemes, especially you've got high advertisement, CNBC, Fox Business. What ends up happening is when these people see this stuff on television, especially if they're watching their favorite channel, they assume all of this shit is legitimate. There's nothing legitimate about this bullshit. especially the way that they claim that it has a use case, which it doesn't. The reality is, I knew the longer that these things sat around, the more attention they were going to attract. So what a lot of people don't seem to understand is a lot of these dudes that got wealthy with crypto in the very beginning because they got into the Ponzi scheme early. What they needed to do was they needed to keep the money rolling. So what they did was they would take out ads. They were putting ads all over YouTube. They had these, I could teach you how to invest your crypto ads all over YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. And then on top of that, you had CNBC, Fox Business, and even on CNN, they were pushing crypto. If you could pin them down and ask one of those stupid ass anchors anything about crypto, they wouldn't be able to tell you a damn thing. Now, there were a lot of people who seemed like that they were professionals and everything, and they ended up investing in crypto. And my question is, well, what do they have to say now? You see, it was very simple. Once the government started raising interest rates, the environment needed for crypto to flourish no longer existed. It's very easy for anything to grow when you're talking about low interest rates because people borrow more and more and more money and they're just not worried about doing it. But now look what happened. All this borrowing has led them to a hole. They are in a hole and they're not getting out of it. So not only did they miss out on the gains that they could have made in crypto, but on top of that, now they're in debt because a lot of that money was borrowed on margin from the banks. That borrowing may have taken many forms. That borrowing may have been them taking out personal loans and investing it in crypto. That may have been them taking out mortgages on their houses and investing into crypto. Some of these people, I would say the smart ones just sat back and were mining up until mining became too expensive and too energy inefficient. The reality is a lot of these people played themselves. They thought that all they had to do was just keep putting a little bit of their savings into this shit every single paycheck period. Now look, they've lost over 60% of their value. So this guy right here lost his life savings of $2 million. Now, first of all, it's funny. I was just having this conversation with somebody else. I do not keep all my money in the same place. I have one bank, Investors Bank, which is now turning into Citizens, which I use specifically for trading stocks. So that means that with that bank, any money that I make deposits or withdrawals is going to go only to that bank when I'm dealing with stocks. So Investors Bank, stocks. Now, my main bank is Capital One. Capital Ones are plentiful. There's many branches. It's easy to get to them. They have very good apps for managing your money. There's plenty of ATMs around. Their Visa and their MasterCard are accepted pretty much everywhere, just like any other Visa and MasterCard. And for the most part, I like doing business with them. For the most part, I haven't had any major problems with them, and I've been with them. I would say I've been with them since about 2006, possibly. I like them, and I'm going to keep on using them. Now, that's for personal banking. And then what I also do, and I recommend some people do this, there should always be a small amount of your money that you save that you put in a place that's so inconvenient that you can't easily get to it and you can't easily manipulate it. Some people put their money into CDs. I'm not really a fan of CDs because interest rates I feel are too low for them. However, if you have a bank account or if you have a specific account with your other bank accounts, like if you have a checking account, a savings account, and let's say you open up another savings account, like a money market account or something that does not penalize you for taking the money out. Like, for example, I have a credit union. So the credit union, what I told them to do was every single time I get a paycheck or write a paycheck for myself and pay myself, basically a small percentage of that money gets automatically withdrawn. You had to basically sign an ACH withdrawal form, and that automatically withdraws some funds. So I'll take money from myself in order to. You hear these fucking losers out here with these shitty ass little ass bullshit 4-cylinder crap cars. You hear this? So anyway, what I do is you should always take a small amount of your money that you can afford to not have, and you should put that directly into savings. The highest interest earning savings account that you can get. If you take $200 out, that's a decent start. If you take $250 out every single pay period, that's a little bit better of a start. So whatever you can do, whatever doesn't hurt. Some people might only be able to save $100 a month. Some people might be able to save $250. Some people might be able to save $500. Some people might be able to save $1,000 a month. And there are certain people I know who they literally said, I really like what you're doing. My goal is to save $1,000 a month. There's nothing wrong with a goal like that because some people can really do it. Like, for example, if you're very active here on YouTube or if you're very active with a side hustle, you may be able to live off of your main job and you may be able to take that side hustle and you may be able to put 100% of those funds into the bank. I'm saying all of that to say this. You should never put your savings into one place because that makes it easy to steal. That makes it easy for it to simply disappear. You should definitely never put your savings, your life savings, into anything that is not insured by the FDIC. The FDIC is there basically at this point to ensure that the bank with their fractional reserves has enough money to pay you back and to pay back all of its customers just in case things happen and they have a run on the bank. And this is what happened with a bank called IndyMac, which is no longer around from what I know. And IndyMac used to sell subprime loans. Eventually, when the loan crisis happened in 2008, IndyMac found itself with a run on its banks. So that means every IndyMac had people lined up to take their money, and they came in there specifically to withdraw their money. IndyMac, as far as I know, went under because they just didn't get it. They did not get it. So you should never put all of your money in one place. That's just stupid. So here we go. Sam Bankrupt Fraud apologized to an FTX user who said he lost $2 million after the crypto exchange went bankrupt. Well, it's your fault. You should have never had that much money in there in the first place. I would never put that kind of money into one place like that. Now, it's like if I had like $10 million or something like that, I would split that up among my banks. So there'd be a little bit in one bank, there'd be a little bit in another bank, and there'd be the rest of it in the other bank. I would never put it all in the same place. And not to mention all of my banks would be FDIC insured, something that cryptocurrency can't say. The federal government has no intention, nor has it any requirement to protect people's funds if they have cryptocurrency. They have no obligation. Good for them. It says the controversial crypto king was interviewed at the New York Times Deal Book Summit on Wednesday evening. One of his previous customers wrote in to demand answers. The dude was trying to hide. Andrew Ross Sorkin, the journalist hosting the summit, shared the email from a gentleman who said he lost his life savings. It had the subject line, Sam Bankman-Fried stole $2 million from me. The user wrote, Andrew, can you please ask SBF why he decided to steal my life savings and the $10 billion more that customers to give to his hedge fund, Alameda. Please ask him if he thinks that what happened was fraud. Sorkin added that he had gotten several similar letters before asking Bankman fraud. What do you tell this man? I am deeply sorry about what happened, he replied. Bankman-Fried added that the FTX U.S. platform is still fully funded, and he believed withdrawals could be opened up today. I don't believe a word you say. He then went on a long explanation of Alameda's risky trading So, yeah, they're telling you about all the risks that these people are taking on, and your stupid ass is still piling money into them. Right. Good job, idiot. But Sorkin then raised the question of money being mixed between Alameda and FTX. No, there was no question about it. His girlfriend's over there at the other one, so yeah, he's laundering money from him to her. On November 11th, the Wall Street Journal reported that FTX lent $10 billion of customer assets to Alameda. The customer had also referenced the FTX terms of device in his email, which said none of the digital assets in your account are the property of or shall be loaned to FTX Trading. Upon further questioning from Sorkin about the close ties between his families, Bankman-Fried eventually said, I didn't know comminglable funds. I didn't commingle. Oh, comminglable. I did not commingle funds. That means that he didn't tie them together. I didn't knowingly commingle funds. Later on in the Dealbook interview, SBF also said he doesn't think he's criminally liable for FTX's implosion. Of course not. They never do. It's not my fault. It's not my fault that these stupid idiots stopped putting money into these things. If these morons had kept on going whole hog into crypto, I'd still be rich. In fact, I'd be richer than rich. I'd have been able to afford that Dubai hotel that I wanted so bad. Later on in the Dealbook interview, SBF also said he doesn't think he's criminally liable. Recent bankruptcy documents have shown that FTX didn't have an accounting department, while company expenses were approved by emojis on online charts. I mean, that right there, if you don't get jail time, if you don't get serious prison time for this shit, I don't know what you would need to do. I really don't. I mean, Bernie Madoff screwed himself over, died in prison. His son died, and then, or I should say, his son killed himself, and then his other son died of cancer, from what I remember. It's like, what do you have to do to end up on the hook in this country? I have to wonder. Later on in the Dealbook interview, XBF also said he doesn't think he's criminally liable. Yeah, you see, that right there is the sign of a narcissist. It's like, yeah, I'm so special. You can't put me in the booty house. No, not me, not me. Yeah, that's just what it is. That right there is the main serving for tonight. So a lot of suckers got suckered out of their money. A lot of suckers got suckered out of their money. And this dude right here got away with it because up until they put him in prison, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, you got away with it.
Last thing I'm going to say, I still feel energy is a great way to invest. So why am I saying that? Well, first of all, home heating oil is still extremely expensive. I got my heating oil delivery yesterday, for example. Cost me $955. Normally, before COVID, or I should say before we saw the energy price spikes, my home heating oil deliveries were usually around 600 to about, at the most, they were like 800, but that was when I got a larger tank. So it was like, you're talking about a 250-gallon tank. And again, they charged me $955 when you factor in whatever the delivery cost is plus whatever the tax is, right? So I am paying right now about possibly $300 more than I should be normally paying. Energy prices are way up, and this is the reason why I tried to convince people to go into oil stocks, but they decided they wanted to buy whole Ethereums and Bitcoin and Litecoin and everything. And that's why scam bankrupt fraud, when he stole all their money, and Alex Mashinsky, when Celsius stole all their money, that's why right now they're still looking around trying to figure out where the other 60 to 65% of their crypto value is. Government ain't going to bail you out on this one. This one, you're just going to have to eat it. So basically, imagine this. Imagine somebody walks up to you, takes all of your savings, all of your money, and then just leaves, and ain't nothing you can do about it. You're just going to have to eat this one because you were stupid enough to invest in the shit. Bottom line is, I tried to tell people to invest in oil stocks when they hit their their lows, their 52-week lows back in March 2020. I never could have imagined that I was going to make as much money as I did off of oil stock. I never could have imagined it. I thought that maybe they'd go up a couple of bucks, maybe they'd go up a couple of cents. I never imagined back in March 2020 what was going to happen to the market. I never, because see just understand, during COVID, people weren't traveling. Airlines and cruise lines use about 70 to 75% of diesel fuel in general, diesel fuel. Because, they use jet fuel, which is like highly refined diesel fuel. It's called jet fuel, basically, right? Kerosene and variants of it. So they're a little bit different than what we use for gas. Gas is more refined. And then you have home heating oil. Now, these are the bulk of the economy when it comes to energy, right? People weren't traveling. We weren't using cruise ships. We weren't using jet airliners because nobody was going nowhere. Everything was shut down. So the demand dropped through the floor. It went negative. It went below zero. Then on top of that, you had people locked up in their house, COVID quarantines. Nobody was going anywhere. So guess what that did? That also made it so gasoline dropped. So during the Trump administration, which a lot of people have to remember is mostly caused by the COVID, gas prices were extremely low. Yes, they were. So once Trump was basically cheated out of office by cheat by mail, and once the Democrats got in, once Biden got in there and started doing this restricting on drilling and this, that, and other. And see, the problem is you can't even argue this shit because the liberals always got something to say, yeah, well, they're allowed to drill wherever they want. It's like, no, that's not the truth. But one thing you do know is the numbers don't lie. They can say why this shit happened. When Trump was in office, gas was low. With Biden in office, gas is twice as much as it is back in COVID. Or at least even slightly before COVID, I had noticed gas had started going up. So we're talking about like 2019 winter. But during 2020, no, gas prices were rock bottom. And this, regardless of all the politics, I tried to tell you stupid motherfuckers to invest in oil and gas. Oh no, big truck, you stupid. You full of FOMO. We gonna invest in Bitcoin. We going to Mars. We going to the moon. And now, scam, bankrupt, fraud stole all your goddamn money. Now, I do recognize right now that if you really look carefully, you'll see Bitcoin has been going up because the bots are trying to pump that shit back up. Here's the thing, though. They did that before. You remember how it dropped down to like, what was it, 16 or 17? And then they pumped it back up to 20. It almost looked like it was going to 25. And then the scam, bankrupt, fraud, FTX shit came out and boom, right back to 16. Let's understand what's happening here. They're trying to pump these things, these cryptocurrencies, they're trying to pump these things up because a lot of the money that was used to invest in this shit was borrowed. A lot of it was credit. A lot of it was on margin. So what ended up happening was they've lost so much money that what they're trying to do is hold on to what they own as far as tokens and crypto because they think that if they can somehow pump this shit back up just high enough, they'll be able to cash out. I guarantee you, Celsius, Alex Mashinsky, that wasn't first, but that happened. Then you had scam, bankrupt, fraud with FTX. There are more of these FTXs out there. And I guarantee you, the next time Bitcoin's price rises, it's going to drop right back because another fraud is going to come out. Now, what I do think is that maybe at this point, the government realizes that they've got a Frankenstein on their hands. They're trying to get ahead of it. So if they're trying to get ahead of it, chances are what they'll do is they'll start launching investigations of all of these things, whether they deserve it or not. Because the mere fact that you could have this fucking 30-year-old thief stealing all this goddamn money and becoming a multi-billionaire by stealing money, the mere fact that that could happen, the mere fact that they could be running FTX and this motherfucker is funneling money to his girlfriend and she's running this other part of this FTX bullshit. And the mere fact that they didn't even have an accounting department and these motherfuckers are approving shit with emojis. The mere fact something like that can happen means that it hasn't happened just once. That means it's happened before and it has probably been happening and it probably will happen again. So yeah, go ahead and be stupid. Oh yeah, we're going to buy the dip. We're buying the dip. The dip is 17. We near the bottom. We're going to buy the dip. Okay, yeah, go ahead and buy the dip and watch how quickly your money disappears. FDIC ain't insuring you. Now, I'm not gonna rant about that because I could stay on that for hours.
diesel stocks, oil stocks, gasoline companies. My bottom line is, at this point, you haven't been able to catch the high. I told you to catch the high back in March 2020 when, or I should say catch the low because they were negative back then. However, if you take a good look and you look for these dividend payers, Sunoco, BP, AROC, Shell, ExxonMobil, Chevron, if you do decide that you want to invest money and you invest in dividend payers, while your money is sitting there, per share, you get a small percentage of that money back. It helps to own more shares, but right now, because you didn't catch the low, it'll be very expensive for you to own more shares. So therein, when we look at the price of these things, if you look at the cheapest dividend payers and the cheapest prices, you see ETRN, AROC, CLB, WMB, PB, BP is in Beyond Petroleum. These are the cheapest ones. Now, I totally recommend, if you don't feel like doing this math and you don't feel like using critical thought, my recommendation is that you just go for the big oil companies. If you go for those, BP, Sunoco, Shell, Oxy, ExxonMobil, Valero, Chevron, let me tell you something. These things ain't never going out of business. It'll be another 10 to 20 years before you see these things start to even show any amount of decline. But here's the thing, though. These companies know, these corporations, these companies, they know that electric cars are the new big thing. They know everybody wants an electric car. A lot of them are quietly investing in electric car technology, not to mention hybrids, plug-in hybrids. But you got to remember, at the end of the day, these companies, these corporations, they are diversifying themselves because they know, they see the writing on the wall. They're not going to get left out in the cold. If they know what they're doing, they are quietly, just like Beyond Petroleum, just look at the name. Beyond Petroleum has been quietly investing in green technology, quietly, and they only get loud about it when you got these stupid liberal idiots jump, oh yeah, well you got, your coal is not clean enough. When you got them saying stupid shit like that, or your oils, you know what's so funny? I got to argue with these stupid motherfuckers that be watching MSNBC and watching CNN. And, oh, the reason why we sanction Russian oil is because Russian oil, it's too dirty. And I'm like, did you really just say that oil from one place is dirtier than oil from another? I had another one. Venezuelan oil is too dirty. We can't use Venezuelan oil because it's too dirty. And I'm like, and they really say this stupid shit. These people are so stupid. It's incredible how stupid these people are. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Oil is oil. All of that shit comes out of the ground. Louisiana sweet crude versus Venezuela crude. It's fucking oil, okay? If you have to refine it a little bit more, the bottom line is it's still oil. You don't know jack shit about how dirty, thick, thin. You don't know anything about oil. Just shut up, you and your stupid, useless liberal arts degree. You probably got a bachelor's degree in English, and you think you fucking know everything. Meanwhile, your government's fleecing your ass. So anyway, I don't want to rant because I could go on for hours about this shit. But when you have to argue with stupid people, I've decided at this point, it's pretty much not worth arguing with them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get what I want to get. They can't say shit about it. They can't do shit about it. And I'm going to flash it right in their face. So when I'm rolling around with a $70,000 electric Cadillac, oh, how'd you get that? Well, how'd you get that? I thought my Bitcoin was going to have a Lamborghini in front of my yard by now. I'm not arguing with these people no more. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Just not going to. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of resources. I'm just not going to do it. So I'm just going to have to show you. So I'll tell you this. When I'm sitting in Bora Bora with my hands on some young chick who's serving me coconut juice from some coconut tree, and you're still here sitting in your office wondering if today's the day that Elon Musk lays you off, or you wondering if Zuckerberg's going to lay your ass off today, or you're wondering if Jack Dorsey's going to lay your ass off, while I'm in Bora Bora and there's some young girl serving me that coconut juice and serving me fresh bacon strips from some pig that they just killed. And she killed it by hand, and she choked the shit out of the pig, and she chopped the bacon off of him and made me a bacon cheeseburger just like what I had over there in Seychelles, another place you ain't never going. I'm not arguing with y'all no more. I'm just not doing it. It's not worth it. All the people used to argue about Bitcoin, used to argue about crypto, they all disappeared. Because I think by now, I think they said, oh shit, Big Truck Series was right. God damn. I thought I was going to be on the moon. I thought I was going to be on Jupiter. Yep, I'm not arguing. I'm not doing it. There's no point. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it no more. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. This is no point. So my thing is, I feel that right now, because first of all, the rule is buy low, sell high. At this point, you can't buy low because the shit's already up. I'm sitting on gains. I got a bank account from Investors Bank, and if you looked in that bank account, you'd see the gains I'm sitting on. I'm sitting on gains. Not only am I going to buy this Cadillac in cash, $70,000, but the next house I buy, probably I'm going to buy that in cash too. But I'm going to try to wait and see if housing prices go down a little bit. They keep talking about housing prices go down, but here's the thing. I only buy houses in New York City. So the thing about it is I'm going to wait. I'm going to see if prices go down a little bit, and then I'm going to try to buy me a house in cash. No mortgage. Even if I have to take out a mortgage, I'm going to rent out a second house, and I'm going to have them pay for it. Because the thing about, here's the bottom line, and this is, I tried to explain this with my friend who just bought her house. Now, she bought a house twice as much as my house cost, and her property taxes are more than twice as much as my property taxes. My property taxes are like less than $6,000. Her property taxes are $16,000 a year. Her taxes alone are eaten into her savings and her money. And she got her ass kicked when she had to do her taxes. And they say, yeah, well, you owe the IRS $10,000. Meanwhile, here I am with the exact opposite. I'm getting over $11,000 back because I allow the government to simply take out whatever they want to take out, and then I just claim it back at the end. And I write off everything, especially using YouTube as a tax strategy. I file as a journalist, so I get to write off my losses if I have any, and I also get to get those business tax deductions. I tried to tell her, but she didn't listen. I tried to tell her, do not take money out of your pension. Tried to tell her, I said, listen, you're going to need a coach, a CPA to coach you, so that this way you can maximize your taxes. So this way you don't end up owing an arm and a leg. She didn't listen to any of that shit. She did it all quietly. You know why? And she has a right to do that. This is America, because she's an independent woman. All the ladies in Mercedes, throw your hands up in the air. All the ladies getting money, throw your hands up in the air. Charlie, how your angels get down like that? Tell me how your angels get down like that. So she decided she was an independent woman and she doesn't need a man's help for anything. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So when she closed, I just found out she closed. I didn't know nothing about it. She went to that closing table. I didn't know nothing about it. What else? The only time she called me was all of a sudden when she was like, oh, fuck. The IRS isn't joking with me. Oh, fuck. They're charging me over $10,000. So that's when I started hearing from her. Now, rather than being the good asshole that I am and not give her any tips and information whatsoever, I did refer her to my personal CPA so that she could get a little bit of help. But that was beyond the fact. She should have said something before that, but she didn't feel she needed to because here I am. I'm a black man, and she's an independent woman. All the ladies in Mercedes, throw your hands up in the air. So now they taxed the shit out of her. In 2 months, I'll be filing my taxes and I'm getting money back. I got checks back for my property taxes already. And it's like, guys, y'all are fucking stupid. This is a game here. And if you don't learn how to play this game, it's like learning the rules to Monopoly. If you don't understand how to play this game and the strategy, then you get left behind. Meanwhile, I'm gonna be in my $70,000 I'm gonna be in my $70,000 Cadillac electric vehicle, and oh, why are you going to Cadillac? Why are you doing? Well, stupid motherfucker. Well, it's because the government has a $7,500 tax credit right now. And if I were to sell my Jeep at the top of whatever I can get for it right now, which is about $30,000 to $35,000, not only would I not have to put any money down whatsoever for my Cadillac because the money from the Jeep that's residual will be paying the bulk of it, not to mention the cash money I have. But on top of that, I'm getting a $7,500 tax credit back. Guess who's paying for it? You are. The welfare state is paying for it. You're paying the welfare state. I drink your milkshake. I drink it up. Do you understand now? Now I want you to just think about it. I just want you to think about this. $7,500. $7,500. 7500. If you had $7,500, what would you do with it? I want you to just tell me that. I want you to just think about that. I'm going to give you a moment of silence. What would you do with it? $7,500. I want you to tell me in the comments, if you were handed $7,500 right now, what would you do with it? I just want you tell me that in the comments. I want you to tell me, if you had $7,500 handed to you right now, what would you do with it? Well, understand something. Normally, if I got that much money back, the thing that I usually do with it is I just put it into my high interest savings account. Either I'd put it into MCU or I'd put it into my Swiss bank account. It's one of the two, because I keep a little, you know how they tried to tell you with Bitcoin that you should keep some of your savings in cryptocurrency because what happens if the government gets angry at you and they want to come after you or something and you can't get access to your money? No, fuck cryptocurrency. I got a Swiss bank account. Anybody can get a Swiss bank account. All you have to do is go on the Swiss bank account website, and you can start the process of opening one up. The only caveat is when I got in, you had to have a minimum of $10,000, and I think they raised it to $15,000. I don't know how much they asked for now, but just in case I'm overseas and I had a problem or some shit and couldn't get access to money or something, I can still get access to money. A Swiss bank account was actually my gift to myself for my 25th birthday. I've had it since I was 25, so that means, what am I, 41 now? So I've had it for almost 20 years, I guess. But anyway, there's different ways to keep your money. Some people use Bahama banks, like Scam Bankrupt Fraud. He has a bank in the Bahamas. People used to use Bahamian banks in order to hide their money from the tax man. But I don't hide my money. I take tax returns and put them into that Swiss bank account. But my point is, if you had $7,500, most people, I think, would probably buy something nice that they normally wouldn't have afforded. Me personally, that $7,500, I might just use that for my Bora Bora trip. And if not my Bora Bora trip, I might use that for my Singapore trip, because I'm going to Singapore's, and of course I'm going to make a business class Singapore airline video, because that's what I like making business class airline videos at this point. I love it. It's fun and it's relaxing. It's for me at this point, going on these vacations is more about me putting it on YouTube than it is about me just going, because those YouTube videos last forever. And in fact, right now on my computer, I'm downloading part of my Maldives video right now. 54.3 gigabytes right now. And it's 25% complete. I'm still downloading it. Because if you remember my Maldives video, I edited out a lot of personal stuff because, obviously YouTube is going to censor you if you have women scantily clad. Because here's the thing, they had nude beaches, and I can't show titties on YouTube, and YouTube will fucking censor that shit. And my chick, a lot of the time she was wearing half her clothes. I couldn't put none of that on there. And YouTube will absolutely censor that shit. So I put a couple of parts of the video with us swimming underwater with the dolphins and shit and the whales, sharks. I stay away from them things because I don't trust animals that size. I don't trust them. But bottom line is, what would you do with $7,500? Because I know you'd want to do something with it. But my whole point of talking about these stocks and teaching you about dividend pay and this, that, and other. See, the thing about it is, it's not about getting wealthy in the short term. This is about when it comes time for you to retire. You're trying to put together money for your retirement. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about right now. I got paychecks that I haven't even spent yet. I'm not thinking about right now. I'm thinking about, what is it? I'm 41. I got 10 more years of this bullshit, and after that, I'm out. I'm out. You're going to find me on a beach with some young native islander girl serving me buko juice. And you're going to be stuck right here with some American woman who got kids by another man, and you're going to be paying your money basically to take care of another man's seed because that's the best you can do. I'm not doing that. I'm going to be on a nice, beautiful island, and it's going to be nice and white sand and coconut juice and coconut oil all over my body. And I'm going to have some young chick spreading that oil all over me. All over me. And you're going to be stuck right here, wondering if Jeff Bezos is going to kick you out of the office today, lay you off. I tried to tell you. I tried, but some people weren't listening. So all I'm going to say is this. These dividend payers, you go after the cheapest ones, or you go after the ones that have high percentages per share, and that's the best way to store your money. The bank accounts are not paying you very much interest, but these dividend shares will give you more money back than the bank is willing to give you for interest. You'll make more off of dividends than you will off the bank interest. And that's just a fact. The only question is, well, what companies do you go after? I've continued to recommend the tech companies because you have to understand, yes, the tech companies are down right now. Yes, they are. They're down for two main reasons. They're down because of the chip shortage, and they're also down because a lot of people are in recession and they're not personally spending that much. However, it ain't going to last that long. When Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, Google, Amazon, when all these companies get back on their grind, once they get rid of these fucking Democrats, or at least they throw a wrench in their plans because they're trying to fuck everything up, and the Republicans are able to flex, the Republican pro-business attitude has always done wonders for the stock market, even before the inflation of the Federal Reserve. So you got to get, while it's hot, you got to get in there early. I own 1,000 shares of Ford. I got 1,000 shares of Stellantis. I got interrupted by a phone call, but I was saying I have 1,000 shares of Ford. I got over 1,000 shares of Stellantis, which used to be called FCAU or Fiat Chrysler. I got a lot of shares in GM. I didn't even count them because I have them spread across my Charles Schwab and my TD Ameritrade. And the thing about it is, these are automotive companies that proved that they were recession-proof when the COVID pandemic hit. They turned those factories into PPE manufacturing. So they've proved that they can withstand. Not only that, if you really think about it, when we've had wars, the automakers just changed the factory to make weapons, just like they did in World War II. When we need stuff for the military, all they do is they retool their factories. Factories are power. You know, first of all, this is really simple. Production grows an economy, not consumer spending. Producing is what grows your economy. Real capitalism is in production. But they've convinced you that consumer spending is everything. It's not. Real capitalism is the production. That grows your economy. Factories grow your economy. I don't give a shit what that idiot Rachel Maddow says or what those morons on MSNBC say. This country only grows because of what we produce and sell. It's just that simple. It's like a poor person never spent themselves into wealth. It doesn't work that way. However, a poor person who can produce something can get wealthy. A poor person who has a shovel can work and make money and be wealthy someday. A poor woman who has something to sell, I'm not going to say what, can get wealthy on OnlyFans.
selling feet photos or something like that. Production matters. What we need to do, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you need to invest in production. You only invest in companies that produce popular products. Popular products. Things that millions of people want. Things that billions of people want. That's what you invest your money in. It's a damn shame that the Holding Foreign Countries Accountable Act hurt Chinese stocks the way that it did, because Chinese stocks were cheap and Chinese stocks were easy to invest in, and Chinese stocks were coming up. Right now, China's on the lockdown, and you see them over there fighting and shit, fighting the government. And the thing about it is the government's not going to tolerate that for too much longer. But the thing is, when they do stop with these stupid quarantines and stupid COVID shit, and they put those people back to work, and those people have to work and feed their families, when production goes back up, the stocks go back up. It's just that simple. Because they're on lockdown, the stocks are down. It's simple mathematics. When you want to buy dips, those are the dips you buy. You pick Chinese companies that were doing very well before COVID, but that produce products. And those are the ones that if you want to invest, you invest. Now, I know a lot of people don't like China. Fine, whatever. Then you don't have to invest in them. Same thing might go for Europe. Look for European companies that have been hurt by COVID that are not producing as much now as they were before. Once this shit is over, once people have had enough of COVID and they push that shit aside and they get back to work, all those companies' values are going to go back up. It's just that simple. It's simple mathematics. Investing in the military-industrial complex, Raytheon, Boeing, fucking Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin. Oh, yeah. They always find a reason to keep a war going somewhere. So, yeah, investing in them is a great idea, too. But bottom line is, you got to be smart with your money, because let me tell you something. I've been saying it for a while. I said the recession was going to officially begin right after Election Day. Once the Democrats cheated their way into the Senate majority, I knew the recession was going to begin. See, they wanted to take the House, but they never would have been able to do that because there's too many rural areas that were voting Republican to cheat that. So they was like, oh, yeah, we couldn't take the House. We got the Senate, but we couldn't take the House. So the thing about it is now the recession officially begun because they've got nothing to lose. They can tell you whatever they want to tell you. They can tell you we're in stagflation. What are you going to do about it? It's not like you're about to vote. You already did that. It's over. You got to be smart with your money because I tell you, over the next decade, start, 2022 to 2034, there are going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of technological changes. Electric cars are going to take over more and more. These electric vehicle stocks that I've told you about, these electric vehicle manufacturers, these automakers, this economy is going to start to change very, very quickly over the next 5 years. And for the 5 years after that, you're going to see it change even more. You've got to position your money in a way where your money is making money for you. And that's just the bottom line. If you ever want to retire, you got to position your money in a way that that money is making money for you. That's just the bottom line.